Firsts with Michelle Aiden.
Friends, cars, Romans, countrymen, we're just going to go with the traffic in the back, because where can you go nowadays and not find a car? Thank you, Henry Ford. For the 5-day week and vehicles. Moving on. Friends. I love my few friends, and I have very few now. I used to have a herd, like in the Serengeti, but now I have a small group of carefully curated loved ones I would take bullets for, that I would donate body parts for. Now, when it comes to donating body parts, I have a serious issue with giving insides out. And this is because of the 1991 classic film called Body Parts, which again, I would highly recommend a download, starring the very underrated Jeff Fahey, where it's an absolute shit show of donations of a serial killer and possession. So I have serious issues of donating body parts. So if I've agreed to give you a kidney or a liver or a retina, it means I love you a lot. But before this next party, let's do the housekeeping. If you want to find me, Instagram, it's Michelle Aiden. I've kept it simple in case I forget. Facebook, it's Miss Aiden. YouTube, Michelle Aiden, FYI. TikTok, Michelle Aiden. Dankie julle best friends for now. I actually had a friend say that to me. We bought necklaces that said BFFs, and he said it stood for best friends for now. I'm not over it because I can't let it go, because I'm not Princess Elsa. Story time. My book of spells. Once upon a time, when you were little, your friends came in various forms. Family, siblings. Your parents made you friends, and they were called brothers or sisters. Your parents' siblings made you some friends, and these were known as cousins in either gender, in English. In other languages and cultures, they have different names and different genders, like niggies and neefies and stuff like that. Then the tour de force in the friend-making shit show. Your parents' friends have made little people, and now by some default, they are your friends too, no matter how awful they are. It doesn't matter that they take your Barbie that you got for Christmas and throw it in the pool. They are your friend. It's a recipe for disaster, if you ask me. Now, I don't have siblings, and I have cousins in some ways, few, and many in others. On my father's side, my second youngest cousin to me in age is 25 years older than me. All right? Older than me. My one uncle's son has 7 children, and they have so many children, I think they live in a shoe. There is one that's 4 years younger than me, but we've never been close. The trauma that didn't bond us, yeah, we don't talk. None of us Tarons, that's our real name, but being a Taron from Benoni and an actor, do the maths on that. We've never really had the time of day for each other. Rather them for me, or maybe me for them. We're all a bunch of different sheep, and I've always felt like the black one. And on my mother's side, it's few and far between and complex, and we're just going to leave that all offline. We are the few that fell. But I think it was Brandon Lee who said in a movie called The Crow, that's just perfect, I can't believe they've remade it. But he said, it can't rain all the time. On your mark, get set. Begin 1985. Comrade, companion, friend, foe, and usually that was my fault. Dryden Avenue. Walking back from Greek George's Cafe with Opa Frank, Mr. Swanepoel, my mom's dad. There's new people in the neighborhood, and they have kids, and they're outside. But Frank is a suspicious person. He surveys the terrain. There's a girl, 12-ish, boy, 5, 6-ish. I'm 5, 6-ish. So I want to play with these super amazing people, right? But Mr. Swanepoel knows best. He's suspicious of everyone. He works underground and on the rigs of the mine. He's seen some shit. And he has a lot of cop friends in the church. And my mom is an active police reservist. I know this sounds like the beginning of an East Rand mafia movie. Kind of felt like that too. Anyway, these two kids are playing with this like weird little red thing in the front of their garden, which later turns out to be a Quality Street chocolate wrapper with a rock inside that they're just throwing around. That's fucking genius. And this kid later would prove his geniusness over and over with metal sheeting forts and steel tubing hideouts, pillow houses, pillow forts. His genius knew no end. He wanders over. There are no walls in 1985. Like Oswald Mochali said in his poems, a wall without a door is for love to walk through. And he walked through it. Hi. He sticks his little hand out. I'm Mark, and this is my sister Katrina, and I'm almost 6, and she's almost 12, and do you want to play? I look at my opa. Please, please. Asseblief. Mark is very English, and I'm very Afrikaans, so this is going to be Trixie. Our house, he smiles. They can come to our house. 16 Dryden Avenue, Comet, Boksburg. We sold that house in February 2024. Frank bought that house in 1956. It was a sad day. My name is Michelle. I obviously shout with a major Afrikaans accent. We are one house down. Come over there. We have homemade iced tea. Opa made it for when he went underground and up on the rigs. I swear it was the best iced tea in the universe. And looking back, I suspect it was 90% sugar, 5% whiskey, and 5% tea. But it was amazing, and we would beat each other up for it. He made it in the glass Coke bottles and later in the plastic ones that still had the black bottoms. You have to be super old to know what I'm talking about when I talk about that cool drink bottle. Mark and Katrina come over and play until it's almost dark, and then he says it's time for them to go home. Their parents will be home soon. And I seen Katrina saying she had to cook. She's almost 12 and she has to cook. Maybe I remember that wrong, but that's how I remember it. See you tomorrow? I asked desperately, trying not to sound too desperate or too pathetic, and my voice is shaking with fear and hope, and he smiles this big, fat, toothy grin, and he waves, and he says, sure. And the two of them run the 2 minutes home. He has no idea how hard I prayed for him. I was the friend in need, and he was the friend indeed. I saw him the next day, and the next day, and the next day, many days. We were real deal friends. I'm talking like mud pit, mud cake friends, cap gun friends, running around in circles until you fall over and feel a little sick and maybe vomit friends, digging for treasure friends with a spoon. fort friends, hideout friends, tank friends, magic stick friends, pirate friends. How are you a pirate when you are living in what was then the Transvaal, as far away from water as you can possibly get? But we were pirates, okay, with patches. We were cowboys. We were Indians. Once we found a homemade shiv, like they made in prisons, hidden inside a wall. We thought it was the coolest thing ever. Frank, Mr. Swanepoel, Oupa, did not think this were cool, and we were shat on, and the precious shiv was taken away. Our pirate treasure stolen by my rigging, strong as 3 oxen, barefooted pirate Oupa. The audacity, the pirate himself, steals the treasure. Years later, it's returned to my cousin Lloyd, who wasn't even there on the day that we found it. And again, I haven't let it go because I'm still not Princess Elsa. I ain't no Disney princess. I'm from Monster High. 1987, we go to grade 1 together. I have the most glorious footage that Oupa Frank, Mr. Swanepoel, took on 8mm. If anyone knows anyone that can transpose this, give me a call, because I want to watch it with Mark on Teams or Meet or Zoom. That sounds like games, and you should say it twice. Zoom, Zoom. Meet, Teams, that we can relive that. I'm going to cry a lot because all the grown-ups in that footage are dead. Anyway, Mrs. Matthews was our class teacher. And the first word we could read was look. It was written on the board. A line, 2 circles, another line, and half a triangle. Because if you think about it, words are really just a bunch of sticks and circles, shapes. And the 2 circles look like eyes. Look at that. I'm still looking for answers. I'm still looking for myself. And just like Bono said, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Thanks, Mrs. Matthews. I think I'll keep looking till I die. Mark and I, we never stopped learning. We learned to knit together. We learned to cook together. My Oma showed us. We learned it all. To read, we learned numbers, letters. We learned that Father Christmas was from the devil. That was a pretty tough life orientation class. And we never stopped playing. We both still play the fool. The last time he was here on a visit, he would not stop fucking around with the fart machine. And in fact, at my wedding, I wouldn't stop fucking around with the fart machine. We even played Barbie together because, as we now know, Kenergy is a real thing. And Mark has Kenergy in abundance. I can feel his Kenergy. Now I find out, a few weeks later, while we're chatting, that he just wanted to see Barbie naked. I think that's proper Kenergy. Mark is not just Ken. Mark was always home alone, raised himself, but not like one of those shitty, crappy East Rand feral kids. He was Inspector Gadget, Inspector Clouseau, Captain Planet, all the Ninja Turtles at the same time, and Master Splinter. He was Magnum, he was MacGyver, he was Hannibal, he was Spaceman. He was the best of them. Mark did things like open the door for me. Mark was kind to me even though I was going through a lot and I was really bossy and often hysterical and didn't know how to control it. I was going through some stuff and I didn't say nothing to anyone for a really long time. And I'm pretty sure Mark was going through some stuff and he didn't say nothing to anyone for a really long time. And sometimes I took it out on Mark. And you know what? He never, ever, ever, ever took it out on me. And that speaks to the little boy that he was, and it speaks to the kind of man that he's grown up into. And Mr. Swanepoel adored him. And I was more than just a little bit jealous because only children can get a little jealous, okay? And he would buy him arrows. And Mark is like L'Oreal. He's worth it. We were in the same class until grade 6. We spent many afternoons just doing homework and not even really talking, just being together. And there was never any romance nonsense. There were never any lines blurred. So when people say to me that boys and girls can't be friends, I know it's bullshit. We would listen to music in my opa's CI caravan on cassette, especially when I went to a different high school. And I would come there on Thursdays and Fridays when my grandfather drove all the way to Benoni to come fetch me. And we'd just sit in the caravan, sometimes with my cousin Lloyd, listening to Nirvana for the first time, Pearl Jam for the first time, Rodriguez, Sugar Man for the first time. Not speaking, just being in awe of the music in the 90s. And I'm so grateful for the tree that Mark Wood grew into, the acorn that became the mighty oak in my life. He showed me that boys don't pull your hair if they like you in any way. Friends or no friends. They just show up. They don't call you disgusting names and laugh at you and then in private want to hold your hand. Mark was as nice to me at school as he was at home. Mark stayed no matter what, no matter how hectic it got. And it got hectic. I don't even know if Mark knows how hectic it got, but he stayed. And that's a whole different shit show that needs a red flag and 30 minutes and tissues and more trigger warnings. But all the way up to grade 12 and beyond, we have stayed friends. And Mark has a way about him. I call it Marxism, but not that Marxism, because that's, again, a different story. When I just learned to drive, I forgot to lock my front doors, and he just jumped in the car and pretended to hijack me, because that's funny. He came to see me at my first job, again, pretending I'd done something to his windscreen because I worked at a glassworks. Yes, the job that I had, and I slept with their son, those people, they were nice people, all right? He came to see me at university to remind everyone that I was not all that and that I made Barbie Stup He-Man. Love you for that, Mark. He still comes to see me whenever he's in South Africa. He has so many friends all around the world that he struggles to keep up with us. Mark was born in the UK, so he got out of Dodge as soon as he could. He didn't hang around and go to university. At a point, he was like Tom Cruise in Cocktails, serving drinks in Miami. Then he was a ski instructor in Aspen for rich people. Then he was a tour guide in the outback in Australia. Then he was herding sheep in New Zealand. I'm not making this shit up. He was in the Canary Islands, the Virgin Islands. I think he was like, I don't know, polishing tortoises in the Galapagos Islands. That part I am making up. He was freaking everywhere. He lived like no one I've ever known. But now you're asking, where is he now? In a strange twist of fate, he ends up in Japan teaching English with no degree. And there he meets this Japanese girl folding origami paper, and she's a baker, and they fall in love and get married. And that's where Mark is, in Japan, teaching, tour guiding, and doing something to do with chicken wings. I don't ask. So to understand the gravitas of Mark, I want to add this. In 2019, my mother dies, all right? And my father died in 2015, and I don't have siblings, and my husband is estranged from his family, and we have a child, and what is going to happen to this child? And I phone Mark at an ungodly hour in Japan. Ungodly, I say, because when you're in African time doesn't matter. And I say to him, please just look after my little girl. And he says, I'm going to talk to Tomo. That's his wife's name, Tomoko. And within 5 hours, I just get a yes, of course. No questions. I realized I couldn't do that to them. I mean, them having to come to a different country, trying to get passports and get her out. I don't know what I was thinking. The point is there was no hesitation from him and Tomoko. They just went, yes. And 2 weeks ago, when I was talking to him, he still said, I got your back with your kid. No hesitation. That's love. That's friendship. I would give Mark a kidney or liver or bone marrow or whatever if I'm a match, obviously. Body parts. Come on, Michelle, just do it. But there's no questions. I'm kidding. There's no questions. First words, look, I don't need to look for Mark because I know where he is. He's right behind me. He's got my back. I'm going to see you soon, Woody. I reiterate that I am so grateful for the tree that Mark Wood is. A solid oak. I, on the other hand, am grown from pine. Michelle Pine should have been my name. I bend and I break easily. And with careful process, I mush and become fragile paper sheets to be ripped up and crumpled. But maybe one day perhaps I'll become a novel. Maybe just yet. Maybe that's it. And we pine our way into the series finale. From my current breakdown, my midlife crisis, we find the next first. First nervous breakdown with Michelle Aiden.
Firsts with Michelle Aiden.